ちょっと飲んでいくか。
あら、桐生さん、いらっしゃい。
Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name.
If you're going to a bar and everyone knows your name, you're probably an alcoholic.
Superhero landing! Yeah, that's really hard on your knees.
What's up, everyone? I am the Kaiju no Kami, and today is going to be the end of an era of 6 months. Today, I regret to inform you that I have completed the Kiryu saga of Yakuza with Yakuza 6, The Song of Life. Anyway, at this point, I am pretty much out of new information to give you about the Yakuza series. It's mostly about a man named Kiryu and his quest of always having to bail out his former Yakuza buddies who can't seem to keep themselves out of trouble. Come to think of it, the Tojo clan is pretty much the Yakuza equivalent of Princess Peach, which means Kiryu is Mario. Oh, and sometimes Luigi or Toad might be there to help him out, but ultimately, the Mushroom Kingdom, Japan, can only be saved by the one and only Dragon of Dojima. Yakuza 6 kicks off directly after the events of 5 before jumping 4 years into the future and sees Kiryu finally returning to his orphanage in Okinawa, only to learn Haruka has been MIA for the last 3 years. This gets him to once again return to Kamurocho where the plot thickens. Now Kiryu has to deal with a Chinese gang known as the Sao Triad on top of possibly corrupt Tojo officers. Akiyama returns as a non-playable character.
Akiyama.
As for the gameplay, it utilizes the same engine as Kiwami 2, so everything I talked about in that review is pretty much the same here, just unrefined given it was the first game using this engine. You get the colored orbs for your experience here like you did there, can eat at restaurants for experience as long as you don't have a full stomach, seamlessly walk into restaurants and stores, combat is practically the same with the most fun being from the property damage you could inflict.
You've caused more damage than that goddamn thing did!
And thanks to the extreme heat mode, I was able to yet again cream most of my foes within mere seconds. Those moments tasted so good. Unfortunately, Kiryu seems to move around like a rag doll at times, and the physics that occur during some battles can leave you pondering as to whether you should laugh or cry. I did encounter some really interesting glitches in my playthrough, one of which would have my fights end mid-battle, and then I had to wait for the game to reactivate the conflict. Another included a levitating character, and then there was this. The heat moves pretty much suck ass, leaving a lot to be desired compared to the games that come before it. Best one being one I'll talk about later on in the review. Still, there was a fun one where I got to throw a blackmailing YouTuber out of a window. Graphics are on par with Kiwami 2 as well as the music, which was full of non-stop badassery.
いや、あなた方は何か勘違いされているようだ。確かに私たちをインチキというものも属性には数多くいます。
案内は無用だ。そこをどけ！
兄さんと話してると年がいもなく青春時代を思い出すような。なのに彼女が
後からカムロ町に入り込んできた組織の中にはあんたの馴染みもいる。韓国マフィアジンゴン派だ。ジンゴン派。
Oh geez, I could add in many more tracks for you to hear, but I won't so I can get this review moving. There's only a fraction of minigames to be found in this one, with the only gambling game being Mahjong. Except for Virtual Fighter 5 and not Tetris. The games at the Sega arcade are carryover from Yakuza 0, which is quite disappointing since I doubt real arcades were hosting Outrun in 2016. Correct me if I'm wrong though. In fact, most of what Yakuza 6 has to offer feels like a regression when compared to its predecessor. All of the innovation like hunting, driving a taxi, the revelations, and such is gone. Purgatory has completely vanished, while the Champion District, the Underground Mall, and most of the upper eastern side of Kamurocho that houses Kamurocho Hills and the Dragon Palace are inaccessible in this chapter. Yo, but we get a freaking baby minigame. Yeah, that was totally fun.
おれ、揺らすぞ。さあ、縦揺らしだ。
And that's how you know it's Haruto. I'll shut up now. I actually didn't suck at karaoke this time.
そろそろ起きろよ。懸命なサンシャイン。雲とカーテンが。
Lastly, there is some very awkward video chat one.
やっといてなんですけど、見られてるとやっぱりちょっとドキドキする。 ありがとうございます。どうすればリラックスできるかな?
Was this a real thing? To compensate for Kamurocho's shortcomings is a new city located in Hiroshima called Onimichi, which has got to be the dullest city in the entire franchise as far as entertainment is concerned. The place doesn't even have a convenience store to buy stuff at. So when you confront characters that require you to bring them products from one in order to advance the side missions, you have to wait until you return to Kamurocho later on in the game to buy those items and then wait yet again until the game allows you to return to Onimichi to give those individuals the requested items. It bordered between both frustration and annoying. On the positive side, I did like how Showa-esque Onimichi looked. It's full of old style buildings you would see in an old Godzilla film or Ultraman show, which was pretty cool. The temple at the top of the mountain was a fantastic location with some great visuals of being able to see the entire town from afar. Another fun point was battling enemies on stairs and throwing them down them. Furthermore, the city has a train that drives through it, which makes for the only truly great heat move found in the game. Not as cool as the boat one in Kiwami 2, but still awesome nonetheless. Sub-stories remain one of the highlights of the game, even if some of them are quite uninspiring compared to previous iterations. There are some minigame required ones that revolve around darts and baseball, which was a tad irritating. Thankfully, they weren't completely unbeatable as those in 3 seemed.
I've heard a lot about you lately, Kiryu-san. It seems you have become the best darts player in town.
Oh. Kiryuchiの評判は聞いてるよ。この町ではかなり有名なプレイヤーになったみたいだね。だって。
Some of the most interesting missions revolved around spearfishing, working out with the Triforce of exercising plus a few others, having to dress up as the town's mascot, Onomichi,
チャーミングな八作フェイス、おしゃれな尾道ラーメン帽子、キュートな魚のポシェット、漁師の心意気、クールな長靴、生かしたナウイ、オノトレーナー。そう、俺こそが尾道の象徴、小野ミコだ。
which featured some of the worst child voices I have ever heard in a Japanese audio track.
ああ、やっぱりそうなんだ。僕も尾道ラーメン大好き。
What the hell was that?
Kiryu learning what a drone and Roomba are.
今何かが横切ったような。最近はロボットが掃除する時代なのか。
ええ、なんだか急に流行り出しましたね、ロボット掃除機。
そうなのか。しかしいつの間にそんな時代に。漫画で見たロボットの反乱ってのも遠い将来の話じゃなさそうだな。
Running into a few scam artists.
ねえ、よかったらあなたのお名前聞かせてくれる？
俺の名前か。伊達さんに頼まれていたプリペイドカードを買ったぞ。連絡するか。買ったぞ。なんか妙な感じがするが。
Which includes the cult from Zero and Kiwami.
無難長、大変よろしいです。プラス2点。
Coaching a baseball team that is pretty much 90% a random generator when it comes as to whether you're going to win a game or not. Boy, was that quite boring at times. Saving stray cats.
ほら。 そうだ
And one where Kiryu practiced the art of the kabadan. Isn't that like a food or something?
な。おい、ちょっと待て。近いぞ。
どうですか？これが壁ドンです。
Oh.
変な声を出すな。
桐生さん、そこで女の子がときめくようなセリフをささやくんです。
釜石、今夜は返さないぜ。
まあ、桐生さんにそう言われちゃったら帰れませんわ。
Oh.
行くぜ。今夜は返さないぜ。
Oh. My absolute favorite sub-story, however, goes to one where Kiryu gets a new phone app AI installed called Hiji, and while he was talking to Hiji, I selected a discussion point that led to one of the most hilarious conversations ever.
お前みたいな機械、いや人工知能だったか。そういうのがいつか人類を滅ぼすのか。
何それ、漫画で見たの？でもそうね、先のことはわからないわ。
否定はしないのか。
私以外にも人工知能はたくさんいるからね。もちろん私に人類への敵意はないわよ。ただし彼女はどうかしらね。
彼女？
私と同じコンシェルジュアプリでもうすでに世界中に普及しているこのことよ。彼女は至るところで人間のパートナーになってる。ほとんど世界中のシェアを独占してるの。おとなしいふりをしてるけど、あの子まだ本当の力は隠しているのよ。
I wonder who she could be referring to.
私が世界的に広く普及するようになったら大きな会社になるかもね。ただそのためにはシェアを独占している例の彼女より私が優秀と人々に知ってもらわなきゃ。
Seriously though, this mission was awesome. It just got so much better as it went along. Like with Kiwami 2, there is a side mission minigame thingamajig that is similar to the Majima construction missions, only without the depth of strategy involved. You pretty much just send out a bunch of guys to fight other guys and try your best to make sure their health bars do not hit 0 before finishing off your opponents. It's quite shallow, albeit necessary considering this is going to be your main source of income for the entire game. As such, you will most likely find yourself just grinding through the extra missions repeatedly to afford things you want or need. There are a few ways to add characters to your team. The first is by beating certain thugs on the streets of Onimichi. The second way is to progress through the story as enemies will join your ranks as you defeat them. The third and easiest way is to input a series of codes that will give you characters like Kiryu, Daigo, Aman, Akiyama, and so on. I have no idea where this password system originated from, nor how people learned about the codes without the help of the internet. It exists, it helped me win the game, and that is all I care about. I will say this about it though, that dude's code looks like he totally stepped out of an episode of Garo.
なんだ、騒がしいな。
彼は岡田和親。
As with the previous games, many of you will probably recognize several of the voice actors found here. To start, we've got the superbly spectacular Ryusei Nakao in the game, who is most notable for voicing Frieza in Dragon Ball, along with Agent Aburella in Deca Ranger and Sugimori in Ninja.
それじゃあ、我々とあなた方の永遠の絆と繁栄を祝して乾杯してもよろしいですかな。
Godzilla vs. Kong, Shinigami portrays one of the Tojo's top dogs who is at odds with Kiryu.
奇襲を受けた時点でこっちの不利ですから、あんたと真っ向からやり合うようなバカはしない。俺はね、確実に勝てる時だけ戦ってのし上がってきた男なんですよ。
Beat Takeshi from Battle Royale plays the patriarch to one of the Onomichi Yakuza families Kiryu deals with, known as the Hirose family.
それとさ、いつだったかお嬢ちゃん、親として坊主を育てる自信がついたら沖縄に帰りたいって言ってたぜ。
Speaking of the Hirose family, Hiroyuki Miyasako, an actor who was fired by his talent agency for attending parties hosted by Yakuza members, voices the main affiliate, who also took part in a couple of Ultraman movies for Subaraya Productions and was featured in Big Man Japan and the Great Yokai War.
ここなら誰にも邪魔されん。今から泣いて詫び入れても遅いで。わしをキレさせた踊りが悪いんじゃ。
He was also the Japanese voice for Hawkeye in the MCU dubs. Finally, Tatsuya Fujiwara, who was Light in the live-action Death Note movies and Shishio Makoto in the live-action Rurouni Kenshin movies, is another Hirose family member.
陽明連合会の中に達川と松添の2人も紛れ込んでたんですよね。それが中国マフィアのスパイとして送り込まれてたわけですか。
The story itself is a convoluted mess with many favorite characters sidelined for new ones that I didn't actually give a damn about. The worst part is the game introduces who may be the best villain since Ryuji Goda in 2, only to sideline him before the finale. Hanju Gi is his name, and his introductory scene is as superb as Ryuji's was.
聞けば、せっかく店までお越しいただいたお客様を。このバカが追い返してしまったと聞きましたね。
It's a real shame he wasn't the main villain as he held such a presence. You do get to fight him 3 times. Of course, being the overpowered god that I am, I creamed him in mere seconds each and every time. Sadly, none of the other villains held a candle to Jungi. I guess I should just be happy no one who actually did return from the other games acted completely out of character as to how they were portrayed previously. Overall, Yakuza 6 is kind of a bittersweet experience. On one hand, you had a convoluted mess of a story that could rival 4's sloppiness. On the other, it was an enjoyable emotional ride that completely brought an end to Kiryu's entire journey. I might still think 3 was the better conclusion and you didn't need anything after 3, but I still loved what the 3 follow-ups had to offer afterwards. I just wish it could have been done in such a better manner. Nevertheless, these last 6 months of playing this game series has been a real treat, and I'm kind of worried that Like a Dragon, especially given the gameplay changes, is not gonna live up to them. Time will tell, as I'll soon find out. Until then, bye.